Hi there, and welcome to episode 362 of Live with the Paper Pixie. I'm Julie DiMatteo, the Paper Pixie, coming to you live from Alpharetta, Georgia. Today is Wednesday, February 5th, 2025. As you're rolling on in, say hello and where you're watching from if you're watching us live, and hello to my replay watchers. I want to give a special shout out to my Pixie patrons. You'll see them in the live chat with the little magic wand symbol next to them. They are supporters of the channel here. You can join at any time. I do a monthly members only stream for my Pixie patrons. They get some behind the scenes peeks every once in a while, and I'm just so grateful for the support. We'd love to have you. We'd love to have you join us. Let's see, it was almost 70 degrees here in Alpharetta, Georgia, which is crazy for February. I'll take it. It's gonna get cold again, but I hope the weather's okay where you are. Let's see. If you have a question for me tonight, go ahead and put a Q in front of that question. That will make it into my queue when I do the live Q&A. I'm going to save all your questions to the end so that I can focus on demonstrating tonight's project. Sneaky peeky. We're going to be using the Everyday Arches bundle to create this box. I'll show you more about it in just a minute, but if you do have a question, put a Q in front of it. Brian is sitting over here watching the chat in case you forget to put a question. If you're new here, let us know, or if it's your first time watching live, my amazing audience will give you a very big warm welcome. We're one big happy family here, so welcome, welcome. When you shop with me, you earn Pixie perks on orders of $25 or more. All you need to do is use my magic shopping link, thepaperpixie.com/shop. That will auto-magically take you to the Stampin' Up! Online store shopping with me with my current host code applied to your order. So you're ready to go to earn Pixie perks. Now, if your order is $150 or more, the subtotal, you're going to want to take the host code off your order. You can do that on the shopping cart screen. There'll be a little garbage can icon next to the host code. So again, 150 or more, you want to take the host code off because you're going to earn Stampin' rewards from Stampin' Up! You'll still earn Pixie perks from me as well. We are in the midst of Celebration, which is my favorite time of the Stampin' Up! Year. Celebration goes through February 28th, and Stampin' Up! Added 11 new items as options for free with $60 purchase, so be sure to go check those out. It is current catalog products. Believe it or not, one of the items is the beautiful Butterflies stamp set, which disappeared today for a little bit, and last I checked it came back in stock. But that is actually a brand new product that Stampin' Up! Is adding as an option to get for free with a $60 purchase. I love that they're trying that because I know you guys love new product and getting it for free. So that's not usually, that doesn't usually make it to the list, new catalog product. So that's one of the options. There's a punch or two, there's ribbon, there's all kinds of stuff. So if you've already gotten what you wanted from Celebration during January, February, you've got a lot more options as well. We also got a refresh of the Last Chance list. So there's new products that got added to Last Chance and discounts got updated. So be sure to check that out. All these links are down in the description. 2 new kits released as well yesterday. Yesterday was a big day. We got all these new things that dropped. And yesterday also started the pre-order for upcoming online exclusives that will release to customers in March. So the next screen, I'm going to show you how you can kind of take a peek at those because you can actually add those to a starter kit order. So let me think if there was anything else. Oh, the other thing during Celebration, and that will be a good segue into the next scene, is the starter kits during Celebration is a really great deal. There's 2 options. Both of them are $99, ships for free. One option you get to choose up to $125 in product, plus you get to choose 2 color families of the Stampin' Right markers, and you get an exclusive stamp set. That's like an additional $91 in free product. So it's $216 in product for $99. Or if you don't want the markers in the stamp set, you can get an additional $30 in product of your choice. So that's $155 for $99. Both options are great. So I'm going to go ahead and move to the next screen. I need my little keyboard for this. Oops. Did I put that up there? Oh, here we go. It took a moment. I've already logged in, so if you've got a customer account, it's going to ask you you do need to have a customer account in order to step through these screens. It's going to ask you for your email address and your password for your customer account. And then it will be the image of your team leader. And I hope if you decide to do this, I'd love to be your team leader. But this screen will come up first, just confirming that you're signing up with the team leader you intended to. And then you're going to click continue. Is that an owl? We've got a few owls singing to each other in the backyard. There's two options. Again, I mentioned we've got the stamp set and markers or more products. I'm going to click on the stamp set and markers just to kind of walk you through these screens. And this is the fun part where you get to select products. So what I recommend is if you're picking option 1, I want you to first click on the link right there that says Celebration Join Category. You're not seeing my mouse right now, but it's in the pink wording on the screen. I'm going to click on that, and this should pop up the marker sets. So that's the first thing I want you to do. If you're doing the markers one, do that first. I'm going to click on Quick Shop, and then you want to make sure that you click Select as Free Item as opposed to Add to Starter Kit. You're going to get 2 of these for free. So we'll do that one. And then let's do my other favorite, Brights. So select as free items. So while we've got that out of the way, we picked our 2 markers. The stamp set will automatically be added, but here's what I want to show you that's cool. If I go back, let's see, can I go back? Hold on. I'm just going to click item availability. And then, yeah, see, it's got me on the markers here. So hold on one second. View kit previous. Okay, so I did that one. We already selected our markers. Okay, so at the very top here, it's going to default to sort by relevance in the upper right. I'm going to click that to newest. And this is where you're going to see a bunch of products you've never seen before. These are the pre-order products from the upcoming online exclusives that release in March. So one of the cool things about joining as a demonstrator is we get access to pre-order products, and you can also add pre-order products to your starter kit. So that's a cool way to get a sneaky peek at what is coming up in March. So some amazing products. You want to look for the boxes that say pre-order. Those are the special products that you guys haven't seen yet. So look, there's so many of them. Incredible. So there's that. I just wanted to walk through those screens, and then you'll pick up to 125. You can't go over. Now again, if you're picking the $155 option or the option with the additional 30, you can go up to 155 without going over, but you do have to be within $5. Stampin' Up! Doesn't want you to miss out on more than $5 of stuff. So that's the scoop there. Let me get this out of the way. Nolan's got some show and tell for you guys. Today is a Minecraft show and tell, one of his favorite video games, right? Nintendo Switch games. I see a cone of hair there. This is like a mining thing. So these little mining bricks come off here. He wanted me to show you the mechanics of that. And I think this is kind of a combination of a Lego kit or a Lego set and his own imagination. So he's got a spider here with a spider web. We've got, is that Steve? I'm not sure. The characters in Minecraft have names. But anyways, that's what Nolan, this is a creeper. I think I've got the terms right. So very cool, lots of little details. Nolan is our 3rd grader, in case you're new here. And Lily, we're in the middle school era, so we don't have show and tell from her at the moment. I hope show and tell will come back from her at some point. But we all know what middle school was like, right? All right. So here is the project. We are focused on the Everyday Arches set of dies. So this one I've opted to do, it's one of the middle dies, but this is using the Mixed Media Florals, I think is the designer series paper, one of my favorites. Is that not gorgeous? And I did some heat embossing on here. I'm gonna show you how to shorten the arches using your embossing machine or die cutting machine. And I might switch up the ribbon I do on the sample, and then I'm going to ask you to let me know which ribbon you like better. But I love this white woven ribbon. I called it ribbon with a V. Sometimes maybe I've reached my word quota today. We're going to use the petal pink scalloped ribbon on the sample we'll create together tonight. And the other cool thing, because I love you guys so much, is I've also included, this is the free project sheet. You'll find a link to this in the video description. These are the measurements for the version we're going to do tonight, but I've also included measurements if you want to use 8, this is one of them, 7 additional dies in the set. I've included the measurements that you can create the same style box with different sized arches. So there's that. On the back is going to be the template and the products we're using. So let me show you those products. I'll bring in both ribbons. This is the white woven. It's one of the online exclusives. I love working with it. It's 1/2 inch in width. This is the petal pink scalloped ribbon. That is gorgeous. I'm going to try to work with that one tonight. These are the low profile dots that come in gold and petal pink. That's part of the mixed media suite. This is the designer series paper we're using. I used this one on a project a couple weeks ago, and I love this paper so much. So here are the arches dies, or excuse me, the everyday arches dies. You get 10 of them in the set, and my measurements will allow you to use the 8 largest. I didn't think you were gonna make boxes with the 2 smaller ones, because those are really tiny, but we go all the way down to so on the project sheet, die number 1 is the largest. Okay, so 1 to 8, largest to smallest. Okay, so hopefully that'll help you there. I'll give you some more tips and tricks because I am also going to do a smaller version with you tonight of the box just to show you how it goes together. All right, so that is the Everyday Arches dies. They bundle with the Everyday Arches stamp set, which I love this. I'm not using it on tonight's project, but if you love the stamp set, grab these together in the Everyday Arches bundle and you can save 10%. But we're going to be using Enjoy from the Linked Together stamp set. This is another new stamp set as well. So I loved that Enjoy. Thought it was a really great sentiment for a treat holder. All right, let me get these out of the way. Bring my measurements back in. And then I'm going to bring in the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. I've got new plates on this one. We'll see how they work. Brian's looking at these new plates. You're probably jealous that I get to use the new plates, huh? All right, so I have cut a starting piece of the mixed media florals. I always forget the name of it, you guys. Mixed media florals, designer series paper. For this size box, again, this is die number 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let me bring that out because I'm gonna need it. All right, so we're going 5 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one. This is the one. So you're gonna wanna cut 2 of these, and I found that a 4x6 inch piece of designer series paper works the best for that. I would cut it in landscape if you have a directional pattern, then you can just get the 2 arches die cut. So let's go. There's static on these new plates. I don't know. I always feel bad cutting into a new plate for the first time. All right, so we're gonna cut 2 of these. Listen to that static. You hear it? So 1. And I love these dies because, whoops, hopefully you can see the stitching that's added. You will love your new plates. I do have a few extras. I'll let you have the experience sometime. There we go. All right. We're doing those 2. Well, that one didn't cut all the way through. Let's do it one more time. Just trying to pick up the cut lines. It's so funny it didn't cut through. My die cutting machine sometimes. I'm trying to pick up where it cut. There we go. Let's go back and forth. There we go. Okay, so I love that stitching on there. All right. Now, while I have my die cut, well, I'm going to bring that back. I'm going to do that later. I was going to show you how to do the shorter arch, but I have to do the heat embossing first. So let's get this out of the way for now. All right, so I've got my 2 arches, and these ones measure 2 5/8 of an inch along the bottom. So I'm creating a box, or a faux box. You'll see how it goes together. That's 2 5/8 by 2 5/8 by 3/4 in depth. So the next piece we're going to do is a piece of basic black. And this piece measures, oops, get that out of the way. This is 1 1/2 by 7 7/8 basic black, okay? I'm gonna bring in my Simply Scored, and along the short side, I'm gonna score it at 3/8 from each side. So 3/8 of an inch, rotate it 180, 3/8 of an inch again, like so, okay? And then I'm gonna turn it to the long side, and we're gonna score this at 2 5/8 from each side. So 2 5/8, rotate 180, 2 5/8. Super easy, it looks like that, okay? All right, so I'm gonna fold and burnish on all the score lines. And when I've got kind of those, the long way to go and kind of smaller score lines, I just kind of get my fingernails in there to get the cardstock to fold before I burnish. And this is how we're gonna kind of create this faux box. So we're gonna need to do a little bit of surgery here on the basic black piece. Bring in that template here, okay? So we want to cut out these notches here in the middle, so right along these vertical score lines, and then we're going to just do a little bit of miter cutting on the ends. So the easiest way to do this is to fold on those score lines and then cut. So I actually want to cut a little bit more than a 45-degree angle, and I'm going to cut basically from the score line on an angle. I'm going to go just a little bit deeper than 45 degrees. Like so. And by doing that cut while it's folded, it does that triangle for us with just 1 cut as opposed to 2. And I'll just flip it over and do the same thing like that. We'll repeat the same thing on the other score line. Cut. Cut, and you're kind of creating these cute little triangle pieces that you're cutting off. And they may fly every which way. So we've got the middle ones cut, and then I'm just going to come in and miter cut on these little corners here. And you don't need to do much there. Basically, we're doing the deeper than 45-degree angle so that those don't overlap when the box starts to go together. All right, so we got that all cut and ready to go. This template, well, it won't be totally to scale for all the measurements. The theory is the same. You're gonna do those extra little bit more than 45-degree angle cuts, and you can do that easily by folding on the score line and cutting your angle once. And then same thing, miter cutting on the edges. Okay, so when we make I think I'll make a smaller version of the box before we wrap up tonight, and I'll give you some tips and tricks on the measurements here, okay? All right, so there's that piece. And now we're just gonna start to put our little box together. So It's so funny, when I'm looking at this, it looks like it's 1/2 inch. What did I do wrong? That should be 3/4 inch. So 3/8 and 3/8 is 3. I don't think I cut this to 1.5 inches. I didn't, you guys. I cut it to 1.25 inches. The project sheet is correct, but I am not. So here we get a second tutorial. We'll see that on an instant replay. All right, let me make sure. I think this piece is already cut to 7 7/8. It is. So now I'm gonna cut 1.5 inches. I thought that looked a little narrow. I mean, that would work, but it would be a really narrow treat holder. So let's do it again. So same, 1.5. I just happened to cut that piece to 1.25, 1.5 by 7 7/8. All right, so again, on the short side, 3/8 inch from each side. Some of you may have already picked up on that in the chat if you saw if you saw that my measurement only went to 1.25 inches. So 3/8 from each side and then 2 5/8. Oh, we all do it for sure, Janice. All right, so 2 5/8 from each side. That looks better. All right, so again, fold and burnish. So then we got our folds. I'm going to come in and do my just more than 45-degree angle cuts. And then we're going to miter cut the corners. And I'm just flipping my cardstock just because I'm right-handed and it's just easier for me to get at it with my scissors this way. There we go. So see how quickly that went when you do it right? But yeah, kind of a big difference there. And it's only 1/4 inch different. Isn't that crazy? All right, so now we can put this together. So we're gonna focus on the middle section here. Actually, we're gonna punch some holes first. So I'm taking my 2 arches, and because I'm gonna punch a hole to tie the ribbon. So I'm gonna stack those, basically the back sides together, okay? Because these are the ones that wanna be on the outside. They're gonna line up opposite from each other. So we're gonna basically layer them that way. So both sides are the front. And then I'm gonna come in with my hole punch and punch a hole here at the top. So I've got an 1/8 inch hole punch, and I'm gonna come down, I don't know, about 1/4 inch from the top and punch. And basically, by lining those up together, see if you can see that, maybe with a piece of paper. Kind of, there's the holes. Those holes are gonna line up when we put the box together, okay? All right, so now what we're gonna do is glue these 2 pieces to the middle section to start. And essentially what we're doing is lining up this edge of the die cut right up to this score line. I know it's hard to see on the black there. Right up to that score line. So I prefer, my foot mat moved, hold on. I prefer to use liquid glue. A tip here is if you prefer to use tear and tape, I recommend that you run your tear and tape along this 3/8 inch edge before you cut your divots. That's just gonna save you some time. Then you'll have full coverage of the tear and tape, and then you can cut the divots out, okay? So I'm gonna start on one side. I've got a new bottle of glue tonight as it's oozing out. Look at that. Can you see it? I'm gonna go get a paper towel, hold on. Got a little over, maybe it just has a bubble in it, an air bubble. All right, I think it's done. All right, so liquid glue, I'm going to put it right along that middle section, right up to the score line. And then I'm going to take this edge and then line it up right there on the score line. Like so. If you're worried about your glue oozing, you can put a silicone craft sheet underneath. But I do want to make sure that that's lined up nicely right there, okay? And the liquid glue gives you a little bit of time to get that right into place. Okay, so we've got one side, we're gonna do the same thing to the other side. I'm just gonna flip it around. Same thing, lining up that edge right up to that score line. This was the easiest way to put this together. Basically, as if this were all one piece now, it just makes it easier to maneuver this box together. And that looks good. Let's see if I can slide it down just a little bit. There we go. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is these sides are gonna fold up, and remember we did that little bit more than a 45-degree angle. It's gonna be hard to see, but so that's so that those don't overlap with each other. So we're just gonna work through, just like we do a box, liquid glue on the tab, and we're gonna line up this cut edge with this score line, okay? I'm just gonna do one section at a time. And again, I'm kind of using my non-dominant hand to kind of pull that tab back, and then I can line up this right there on the edge, like so. This first one is the easiest because once you get it lined up and kind of tacked into place, you can press this down flat on your surface and then just press. The other ones, we can do this side as well, but the rest of them will have to come in with our bone folder to do that. So there we go, I got one edge done there, okay? Then let's repeat on the opposite side. You got that question? Just a reminder, if you've got questions, be sure to put that Q in front of it. Linda, Brian's grabbing your question for you. All right, there's the second side. And then we're just going to repeat on the last two sides. Here we go. And again, see, I can only get my finger down just far enough. I'm just tacking it down. Then I can just come in with the bone folder and just press that tab into place. Hi. And then we got the last one. Okay. And liquid glue, again, tuck that just inside and line up that edge. Tear and tape works great for this as well. I just am a die-hard liquid glue fan. I do find sometimes that tear and tape over time releases unless you've burnished it really well. Liquid glue has never failed me. It's my old standby, trusty friend. All right, so that is the basics of the box. Isn't that so cool? It's just a tiny piece of cardstock glued strategically to these two arches to create a treat holder. I love that. So, let's see. I probably should have done the sentiment first, but I'm not taking my own advice where it's easier to glue stuff down before you do the box. But let's go ahead and set up the sentiment, and then you're gonna watch me fumble a little bit with the bow because of the way that the Normally when I tie a bow, it's around something horizontally, but this one's going to be a vertical wrap to try to get the bow straight. So that'll be fun to watch. But let me show you how we can make these arches a little bit of a different size. So bringing this back, I'm doing, is it this one? I think it was that one. Yeah. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Arch number 8, which is also the smallest one that's included on the additional measurements on the project sheet. We're going to do the heat embossing first. Let me put that off to the side. So here's the word enjoy. And I've just got a scrap piece of basic white. This measures, I think I did 2 3/4 by 4 1/4, and I'm just going to put that here in this lower left corner. Okay. I like to use a stamp positioning tool for the Versamark because I like to stamp a couple of times in Versamark so I get good coverage with the embossing powder. So I'm going to grab my embossing buddy. Couldn't find this for the longest time, but it's back. This is not my original one. I don't know where that one is. The one that I've had for 15 years, it's around here somewhere, but that basically takes care of any static or oils from my fingers. I'm gonna grab my Versamark. This one I just inked up not too long ago, so it's nice and juicy. Who knew we'd use the term juicy in paper crafting? All right, so I'm going to stamp that once. And then twice. Absolutely, Julaine, there's a bunch of different dies you could use. You could get creative with cutting a rectangle and then die cutting just the top with a circle, or maybe adding the top to a circle punch. There's lots of options there. All right, so Versamark, let me get this guy out of here. I've got my scrap piece of paper. Oh, I know what I forgot to tell you guys. I did open a paper share, and sign up actually closes on Sunday. So the link to the paper share is in the video description. I knew I was forgetting something to tell you. I don't typically do an encore of paper shares, but I wanted to give folks who missed out on the first round or wanted some more paper. There is a little bit of overlap between the paper or the product shares, but it is 15 papers that are included basically for the price of 10. You're gonna get 5 freebies with it. I like to put my powder on twice. But that link is in the description. It's $45 plus shipping, and I think it's 168 pieces of 6x6 designer series paper that you'll get. They all come individually packaged in clear open top bags, labeled and ready for you to store them and get all the details of colors and product number and all that good stuff. So that sign up is going to close on Sunday. All right, let's get that cleaned up. This is treacherous to talk and emboss at the same time. I should know better. All right, heat tool. See if we can catch that turning on camera. There it goes. Kind of hard to catch the light there. Here we go. Love that. All right. So there's Enjoy, and I love the look of the shiny black. So give that a second to cool. All right, now we're gonna go ahead and die cut. So the first thing I'm gonna do is line up my arch where I want the E towards the round part of the arch. I'm gonna take Post-it tape, hold that in place. Let's see. Okay, That looks good. I like to anchor it with 2 pieces of Post-it tape so it doesn't shift on me. Now we're only gonna cut the left side of it. So let me show you. Because here's what I'm trying to do. This arch is taller than I want it to be. So I only want to cut, let's come over on this side, I think. And I'm gonna turn it this way. I only want to cut like the first half of this. So the way to do that is actually where you stop your top cutting plate. Okay, can you see that there? So I'm only gonna come in, yeah, let's just do about halfway. And I'm gonna run that through the machine. And I can kind of stop there and bring it back as well. Get that undone here. So you can see that it's only half cut, okay? Now, a couple of cool things you can do with the Everyday Arches dies. I could flip this around and only cut from here to there, and then you would have kind of like a modern oval, you know, like our modern oval punch, but with stitching. You could do that. What I actually want to do is create a shorter arch. So what I love to do, especially with these stitching dies, they make it really easy to do. I think I want to go like there. I am actually, it's really hard to describe on camera, but there's all these little stitching marks, and I'm essentially just trying to line those up with what was already cut on the little half cut. And then you know that it's lined up in the right place. So I'm gonna put this here, and now the difference is we're only gonna cut this back half. So again, we only want the plate to go partially because we don't want all those stitching pieces. It's hard to see, but we don't want those to kind of get in the way of the shape. And then run it through. Let's get this out of the way, and then I'll show you what magic we just did. So now we've created a shorter arch, and the stitching is lined up where it's supposed to be lined up. How cool is that? I love it. So lots of options. This is the size that it would have been. It would have been this tall. We cut off probably about 1/2 of an inch. Okay, so that gave me some options, lots of options actually, and we're gonna glue that right here. Now, you're probably thinking, well, Julie, why didn't you just cut off the edge with the paper trimmer or a pair of scissors? Because I love the stitching look there, and it lines up right with the stitching on the side of the treat holder. So always tell you there's a method to my madness. So liquid glue, you could pop this up on dimensionals if you wanted to. Trying to kind of stay away from the holes so that the glue doesn't ooze out of the holes. There we go. Now again, this is where it would be helpful if you did this to your everyday arch before you put the box together. I'm just putting my hand on the inside and using my desk as leverage. Yeah, the ovals are really cool with this set of dies, especially if you start to layer them together. I've seen some really, really cool samples on Pinterest. So be sure to take a look for the Everyday Arches dies. Run a search for that and take a look at all the inspiration of the cool things that people have done with these dies. So there we go. Different. I feel like it's a little bit modern. I love the look of adding that same style arch to the box itself. So now we're gonna watch Julie fumble with the ribbon. All right, so we're gonna try with the petal pink. I thought would be pretty with this. I'm gonna come in, got my ribbon scissors, which unfortunately are retired from Stampin' Up, but it just cuts the ribbon so much nicer. All right, this is the part where I'm like, if I tie the bow like I normally do, the ribbon will be cattywampus. It's gonna wanna turn sideways. So I need to kind of do this opposite. I don't know, let's see if I get it on the first try. I love tying off the spool, but I think to save myself, I'm not gonna do that. So I'm gonna just cut it off the spool. Oh, that's probably about 16 inches of ribbon. Might be too much, but I want a little bit more to work with. So I normally do this left over right. I'm gonna do right over left and see what happens. You have to kind of do opposite, because I think the way I normally tie bows is a square knot, and square knots are gonna cause this to go cattywampus because we're doing the knot vertical as opposed to horizontal, which we would normally do. So I don't know, let's see what happens. Yeah, my tails are way too long, but you guys might have a really cool tip or trick. There we go, it's not cattywampus. Okay, I'm getting more confident now. So now we're just gonna zhuzh and pull and tweak and get that bow right where we want it. Using my stomach as a third hand. Does anybody else do that when you craft? Comes in handy. I should say comes in belly instead of comes in handy. I got jokes. All right, there we go. And we're gonna trim. And then the last thing, see, too much excess ribbon. If I could have figured it out tying it off the spool, that would have been even better. So now I'm just gonna add one piece of embellishment from the low profile dots. And I don't even know if you can tell how low profile these are. The camera's gonna freak out. These are so perfect for mailing. Take your pick tool. Where did I have it on the last one? In the corner. Okay, do the same. Right there. Got some black on my fingernail there. It's right in the lower corner, and that is our Everyday Arches treat holder. Now you'll have to tell me white or pink, which ribbon you like the best. I'd love to hear from you. So that's the gist of the box. So let me show you rather quickly how we're gonna create, or how we can create a smaller version. Okay, so white or pink, let me know in the chat. And then I'm gonna bring in the project sheet again. Let's do die number 6, okay? I mentioned here the die used above is die 5. So these are the measurements for this size box, okay? And then, so die 7, we're gonna use, no, sorry, we're using die 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This one will just be slightly smaller. We're gonna come in and quickly die cut 2 arches from here. And we won't decorate the box, but I'll just show you how it goes together and show you the difference in size. I just had an extra 4 by 6 inch piece of paper. It'll be a little big for what we need. Gonna go forwards and backwards just in case. I feel like the tension on my machine might be a little bit off. Yeah, that one didn't cut all the way through again. Ooh. Static. So we got one. Green. Debbie. Green would be pretty too. Really any of the colors that are in this paper. Yellow would be pretty. I think part of why this isn't cutting is because I'm putting the arches straight through. So there's a little bit of speed bumps, but that one worked. All right. I have to inspect my machine, dear. All right, so the measurements here assume that you want the same depth of box. So this depth is 3/4. So the only tip I'm going to give you is if you want a depth that is narrower or wider, you want to take that depth. So this one is 3/4, and we had the 2 3/8 of an inch score lines on either side, or tabs on either side. So whatever width, or I'm sorry, whichever depth you want the box, add 3/4 to it for the shorter measurement, okay? But these all assume that you're still gonna do the 3/4 of an inch. So if I'm doing 3/4 and I add 3/4 of an inch, we're still gonna do the 1.5 inches, okay? So, but we're gonna do 1.5 by 7 instead of 1.5 by 7 7/8, okay? So basic black, we're gonna cut 7 by 1.5. There we go. So again, we're doing die 6. We started with 7 inches by 1.5. We're going to score it 2 3/8 from each side. Plus the short side, right? The 3/8 from each side. So we're on the short side. We're going to do 3/8 from each side. And then what did I just say? 2 3/8? Yep. So 2 3/8 from each side. Like so, okay? Now we're gonna put it together the same. Again, fold and burnish. Okay, it's still good. All right, so same thing, we're gonna cut it the same way, a little bit more than a 45-degree angle. I love shortcuts when it comes to paper crafting, in the right places, of course. Certain things we don't take shortcuts on, but I love shortcuts for prepping for boxes. So there we go. We did our little miter cuts, we did our little angle cuts. Again, you want to put the back sides together. It's just so much easier to punch it now than to punch it after you put it together. So again, I'll come down about 1/4 of an inch. And then we're going to glue these arches to that bottom, or that middle section, right to the score line. So let's do that real quick, and I'll show you the comparison of these two, or I'm sorry, this box to the one we made tonight. If I had all the hours in the day, I would have made one of each size so you could see the comparison. There we go. That looks good. Flip it around, do the same thing. I'm gonna go through this one rather quickly. If you just joined us, you'll be able to check the replay. This is just an alternative, smaller version of the box we created tonight. All right, so same thing, we've done those two. Let me make sure that that's stuck down. Okay, and now we're just gonna glue the sides just like we did before. This cut edge with the score line. Got that one. Then I'm just pressing on the inside there. We got 2 more tabs to go. And the last side. You can absolutely change the accent color on the sides too. Green would be pretty with this on a green cardstock. I forget which green is in here. Garden green maybe? I don't remember. All right, so then I'm just going to reinforce those tabs with my bone folder. There we go. So that is the smaller size. Again, you would just tie it with a ribbon there, but so cute. All right, so compared to this one, I'm gonna flip it over so you can kind of see the difference. Not a huge difference, but you've got all those measurements on the project sheet. Okay, so that is how you would do different sizes. Just look at the different measurements. Again, I'm assuming that you would be doing the same depth of 3/4, but you can absolutely edit that by just taking the depth and adding 3/4 of an inch, but the score lines will remain the same. Okay, so there we go. All right, as a reminder, if you've got a question for me, put a Q in front of it. We're about to jump into tonight's Q&A segment. If you haven't already taken a chance to hit the like button, go ahead and do that. If we're about 20 to 30 seconds ahead, so if I miss your question at the end, just send me an email at support@thepaperpixie.com, and I'll be happy to answer your question for you. So let me get those teed up. Let's see. Oops, Kathy, hold on. I knew you were going to ask this again. I don't have a craft tour planned. That's all I'm going to say about that. If it happens, it happens. Okay. Let's see. Mary, do I have plans to start making cards in addition to the wonderful projects you create? I really miss your take on cards as well. I appreciate that. Yes, I will plan to bring back cards as well to my live show. It's just been a very busy couple of weeks with product shares, so we will get back to it eventually. Let's see. Can any demonstrator show the demo for the join special? Absolutely. I think it's helpful to see what the join screens look like, because sometimes I think that can hold people back from starting the process, but absolutely you can share that with anyone. I'm really close. So my goal is to reach my 1 million in sales sometime in March. So hopefully next month. March is my birthday month, and I would love to join my upline, Brian King, on the 1 Million Sales Achiever Retreat, which the cutoff is March 31st. So that's my personal goal for that, but I am getting close. So I appreciate you. Let's see. Do I have handy hints on using vellum nicely on cards or even as decorations on 3D projects? So really the trick for using vellum is to hide the adhesive you use to attach it. So if I'm using vellum as an accent to a project, I will typically use either mini glue dots or liquid glue, but I'm gonna place it in a way that it's hidden behind something. So maybe hidden behind a sentiment or hidden by some type of layer. I do know that they make vellum friendly adhesive. I personally haven't tried it before, but I have heard good things about it. But some of it is really just being strategic. You can sometimes use like a sponge and put a really thin layer of adhesive. To me, that's a little bit too much extra work, to be honest. So I just try to hide the sort of tacking points that I add vellum to a project, just hiding it behind something else, or even hiding it behind a ribbon or a bow or something like that. So hopefully that helps you a little bit. I'm sure the chat has some suggestions as well. So Liz, my desk mat is no longer available for purchase. The brand was, I'm trying to look at it here, Ness Home, and it used to be available on Amazon, but it has not been available for a couple of years, so I doubt that it would be coming back. It is just a neoprene desk mat, much like a mouse pad. It's just a little bit thinner than a mouse pad, but it's got a little bit of give, so it's great for stamping on. I will say that it gets dirty rather easily between adhesive and inks and such. I haven't actually tried to clean it. This is my second one. I had a little bit of a different wood grain before this. Soon, I've been working on it for almost a year. I have a glass mat underneath that I ultimately will be rolling out. I just need to change the configuration of my lights and such. But it's a neoprene desk mat. What I would recommend to look for something similar, I haven't found a great replacement for it, but there's lots of options for like a gamer's mat, a gaming desk pad. If you do search for that, sometimes you can find the wood grain. I just haven't found anything that's as realistic as this wood grain is. So unfortunately, I wish it was still available for purchase because I would still be recommending it for sure. So with a Versamark pad, you actually ink it the same way you would ink any of our other ink pads. The only difference is the viscosity. Is that the term? This is really thick. So if I were to squeeze a regular ink bottle as hard as I have to squeeze a Versamark, I would have ink everywhere. This one you have to squeeze pretty hard, and I don't know if you can tell by the label, it's wrinkled because I have to squeeze it really hard. But I basically squeeze in the same way, pretend the ink pad is open. I go zigzag one way, zigzag the other, and then I take something like, this is one of our palette knives, but you could use a plastic spoon, an expired credit card or gift card, and then just press the ink into the surface of the ink pad. And that should be good. Now, again, it takes a little bit of muscle to get the Versamark ink out because it is a much thicker formula than our other inks. Our other inks are water-based. This is, I don't know what the base is, something synthetic, but I ink them the same way. It just takes a little bit more work. Hopefully that answers your question. Did you agree to an Encore paper share? Well, of course he agreed because his job is ribbon, not paper. No, he'll probably help me with the shipments, but for the most part, I'll do the paper. But that's a funny question. I did ask you about it though. You didn't tell me not to do it. No comment coming from Brian. So there's a little bit of overlap, Zandy. It's, I'm trying to think how many new ones there were. I want to say there was 5 new ones. I can't think of the names off the top of my head. All the details are in the link in the video description. You can see all 15 papers that are included. 5 of the 10 you'll get for free because 3 of them are Celebration, and then I'm getting 2 additional with the Stampin' Rewards. And I'm throwing in my absolute favorite paper. It's from the annual catalog, but Countryside Inn. That's one of the 15. But there is some overlap. It's not all of the same that was in the past product share because we're not doing the specialty papers or the ones with all the die cuts because those took us forever to do. So these are just the basic designer series papers that aren't specialty. And there was a scrapbooking brochure paper that was included, 3 special release, those were included that weren't included in the last round. I think that's it, but all the details of the papers included are in the link below. Good question, Margot. With heating from the front versus the back for heat embossing, oftentimes what you might notice is your cardstock wanting to curl. And so a lot of crafters will heat from both the front and the back, just kind of to even out and keep the cardstock flat, if that makes sense. If you're fairly quick with heating with the heat tool, you shouldn't have any paper warping. You have a little bit. If you keep the heat on there for a while, you'll get lots of warping. And if you do have warping, try heating from the back to sort of reverse the warping. That might be why you see them do both. But I have seen crafters that only heat from the back. Either works. And it might be because they're concerned with maybe burning the paper or the front side of the paper, so they stick to the back just in case. But both works. The heat is really the key to get the embossing powder to melt, and that works from the front or the back. I think the front is probably a little faster because there's not that barrier of paper between the heat and the embossing powder, but you could try either one and see which you prefer. Let's see. Are there actually ribbon scissors, or are they just a designated scissor for ribbon? It's a good question. Now, when Stampin' Up! Carried these scissors, they specifically called them ribbon scissors. And if we had a mother figure in our life who was a crafter like I did, my mom Pixie, you didn't touch her ribbon scissors. But I think the ribbon scissors, I don't know. They're a higher quality and probably a little bit of a different blade style. I have no idea. I'm not an expert, but I do feel like ribbon scissors are different. Obviously, the obvious difference is size here, but the way the blades are created is just different. And I've always had way more success cutting with ribbon scissors than I ever have cutting ribbon with my paper snips. Do you have any? No? Okay. I know you have like a knife collection, so I didn't know if there was any correlation between knives and scissors.
The only one I've ever used. So.
Brian uses these way more than I do because of the ribbon. But I don't see a brand name on these, Donna, so I'm not sure who makes these. But if you search on Amazon for ribbon scissors, and I always recommend you click Prime if you're a Prime member, and just take a look at the reviews and how many reviews certain scissors have to try to decide on a pair. But they do make a difference. They just kind of cut ribbon like butter. Let's see. If you're using the index cards to organize your embellishments, how do you catch the ones that fall off the acetate? You shouldn't have embellishments falling off the acetate unless you're dropping them on the floor, or they get caught on something. But for the most part, adhesive-backed embellishments should stay on their acetate and not go anywhere, but for if you drop them or if you scrape them with something or they hit something and they come off the plastic. So as I mentioned, the jury's still out on these. I'm not 100% in love with this, so that's why it's not on my favorites page yet. Okay. Let's see. With May Day not far off, are you thinking of a new basket that you haven't done before? I make May baskets for our veterans in local nursing homes and assisted living each year. I love that, first of all, Karen. May is really far out for me to think. I'm usually thinking like the day of. I don't know why I'm holding these. The day of for projects, but I will definitely keep another basket in mind. I can't promise that it'll make it to my rotation, but I'll keep it in mind. Thanks for the suggestion. Let's see. I have done a tea bag holder, Cheryl, years and years ago. It was really cool. It had accordion sides, so you could fit, I don't know if it was like 3, 4, or 5 tea bags, but if you go on my blog and use the magnifying glass and just search for tea bag or tea bag holder, you should find that. It had citrus patterned paper on the front, but yeah, I did one, I don't know, a long time ago, maybe 2016 or 2017, I'm totally guessing. Brian's doing a quick search too. If we can find it. Otherwise, if you're unable to find it, Cheryl, just send me an email and I'll look for it for you. So Janice, a couple of different things. I do love to give boxes to my delivery carriers, my nail technician, my hairstylist. Yep, that's the one, tea bag gift box. Let's see, Cheryl, Brian's gonna drop in the chat a link to that blog post. But I also have a little bit of a backlog of boxes because, as you probably have noticed, there's a lot of projects that haven't made it to my blog yet. So I've tried to hang on to at least one. I usually make 2 or 3 of each project. I've hung on to at least one of most of the ones that haven't made it to my blog, just in case I need to take another photo or two. So I do hang on to quite a few of them until they've made it to the blog. But I love to give them just for any reason, just because. So when the kids were younger, I always did it at like their daycare or for birthday parties. But now it's just, a little token of appreciation, flight attendants, you name it, stuff like that. So what fits inside? I actually didn't design this box to fit anything in particular. A couple of ideas you could put in here: Reese's peanut butter cup, Ghirardelli squares. You could even just put a little handful of peppermints or Werthers in here. The measurements of the box are 2 5/8 by 2 5/8 by 3/4. Probably not wide enough for something like, what's the name of it? One of the lip balm tins. I think those are a little bit thicker than 3/4 of an inch. But I just loved the style of the box, so I didn't make it for anything in particular. Yes, I think I answered this, but Judith, just in case you didn't catch that, there is a little bit of overlap with the latest paper share, but also some new as well. Okay, and no pressure. If you're interested in getting more paper, great, but don't feel like you need to participate if you already participated in the last round. But I know some of you love paper, so quite a few of you are signing up again, which I love to see. Let's see. So the Versamark pad I actually store upside down, Denise, because this one, I don't know if you can see, it's labeled upside down because I store it upside down. So then that way the ink pad is always upside down. That's different from our ink pads, which right side up, stored right side up. The ink pad itself, let's see if I can do it this way. Nope. The ink pad itself in the case is already upside down. It's one of the things I love about Stampin' Up's stamp sets. So that is why I store the Versamark upside down, Stampin' Up right side up, but both ink pads inside are facing down to keep the ink at the surface. I will likely not be swapping it on stage, Barbara. I just have too many things to do between now and March. I would love to swap, maybe if I can make it happen, but I'm guessing not, just because my schedule is so busy over the next month. But please do come and say hi. I love to meet everybody, and I'm a hugger, so I will always ask if you're a hugger, but I do love to give hugs. So I would love for you to come up and say hi. I'd love to meet you. All right, we have reached the end of the cues. Thank you guys so much for joining me tonight. If you enjoyed tonight's project or learned a new tip or trick or two, be sure to give this video a thumbs up. And if you're new here, subscribe to the channel and hit that bell to set notifications to all, so you'll get notifications each time I go live. Don't forget, in the description is a link to join my round of paper shares. I'm closing that on Sunday. It's the last round of shares, I promise this time, that I will offer until the annual catalog. Don't forget to take a look at the last chance refresh, the new kits that dropped, also what else dropped? Celebration. 11 new products for Celebration are available, free with $60 purchase. And I think that's it. I'd love to have you join my team if you're interested in that amazing starter kit special. Again, you can add pre-order products to your starter kit this month. We are in the midst of demonstrator pre-order for the upcoming online exclusives coming in March. So thank you guys so much for joining me. Don't forget, all you need are stamps, ink, and a little paper pixie. Here's a special shout out to my Pixie patrons. Have a wonderful and blessed week, and we'll see you next time. Take good care. Bye.